she's on her way.
Okay. She's on her way, like literally?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, we're gonna go slow. Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for your patience as we waited to get a quorum. Everybody's got other places, but we're gonna get crack-a-lackin'. So, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm the chair. I haven't had any of my coffee yet. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Chair Breen.
Present.
Representatives Edwards.
Here.
Carter.
Present.
Pope.
Here.
Arbit.
Present.
Devendorf.
Oh, Emily, are you here?
I'm here. Yeah. Good morning.
Hoskins.
Here.
Cerniglu.
Here.
Fink.
Here.
Wenzel.
Here.
Wozniak. Outman. Johnson.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have 13 members present. You do have a quorum.
Thank you. I will take a motion from Representative Edwards to approve and adopt the minutes from the previous meeting, and those are now adopted. We have no absent members, and today we are going to be hearing testimony on House Bill 4690, sponsored by Representative Kofia, and voting out House Bills 4644 through 4646, and House Bills 4738 and 4739. We are going to start with voting out House Bills 4644 through 4646 but before we move through on that, I understand Representative Wozniak would like to read something into the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really appreciate this opportunity. So, a short statement. Members of the committee, Madam Chair, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the importance of replacing Michigan's Durable Power of Attorney Act with the Uniform Power of Attorney Act. Having sponsored this same package of bills in 2020, 22, and again earlier this year, I am very pleased to have similar legislation taken up by our committee this morning. As a practicing attorney who has specialized in the area of elder law for decades, I was very pleased several years ago to learn of the work being done by the Michigan Bar Association's probate section work group to align the Uniform Power of Attorney Act with other Michigan acts. The concept of a power of attorney was first incorporated into the Uniform Probate Code in 1969 to offer an inexpensive method to surrogate decision-making for those whose modest assets did not justify pre-incapacity planning with a trust or post-incapacity property management with a guardianship. 50 years after Michigan's adoption of the Durable Power of Attorney Act, the power of attorney is still being used by people of all economic means for incapacity planning as well as convenience. Adoption of the updated Uniform Power of Attorney Act is necessary because over the years, Michigan and other states have adopted non-uniform provisions to deal with issues on which the Uniform Probate Code and the original Uniform Durable Power of Attorney Act are silent. The new act will provide uniformity on these issues and enhance the usefulness of the law. The State Bar's probate section work group spent countless hours working to ensure that the proposed legislation aligns with other state laws and is of significant benefit to the people of Michigan. With that, I would encourage you to support this legislation. I'd like my comments in the record, please, and thank you for the time.
Representative Wozniak, I really appreciate that statement. I know you've worked very hard in the past and even today on these bills. And I know that Rep. Hope actually is also working to make some changes for a floor substitute. And we welcome your input. I encourage you to reach out. And if there's anything that you'd like to add to those bills to make them even better, I'm sure everybody would appreciate it, including the entire state of Michigan. So Thank you. And with that, I will take a motion from Representative Hope to report House Bill 4644 with recommendation. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Chair Breen.
Aye.
Representatives Edwards.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Hope.
Yes.
Arbit.
Yes.
Devendorf.
Yes.
Hoskins.
Yes.
Cerniglu.
Yes.
Fink.
Yes.
Wenzel.
Yes.
Wozniak.
Yes.
Outman.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 13 yeas, 0 nays, 0 pass. House Bill 4644 is reported with recommendation.
Thank you. I will now take a motion from Representative Carter to report House Bill 4645 with recommendation. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Chair Breen.
Aye.
Representatives Edwards.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Hope.
Yes.
Arbit.
Yes.
Devendorf.
Yes.
Hoskins.
Yes.
Cerniglu.
Yes.
Fink.
Yes.
Wenzel.
Yes.
Wozniak.
Yes.
Outman.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 13 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 pass. House Bill 4645 is reported with recommendation.
Thank you. I will now take a motion from Representative Hope to report House Bill 4646 with recommendation. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Chair Breen.
Aye.
Representatives Edwards.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Hope.
Yes.
Arbit.
Yes.
Devendorf.
Yes.
Hoskins.
Yes.
Cerniglu.
Yes.
Fink.
Yes.
Wenzel.
Yes.
Wozniak.
Yes.
Outman.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 13 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 pass. House Bill 4646 is reported with recommendation.
Thank you. We are now going to lay House Bills 4738 and 4739. These are otherwise known as the Ricky Jack bills. I do have a card here from Noah Smith representing Criminal Defense Attorneys of Michigan opposing the bills, not wishing to speak. I will also note that we have had some discussion amongst some stakeholders, and there will be some changes made to tighten these bills up a bit more. And I think that we're going to get a lot of people closer to being completely and totally on board. But these are important bills, and thank you to the committee for listening to your testimony last week and to the Attorney General's office for her input. With that, I would like to take a motion from Representative Hoskins to report House Bill 4738 with recommendation. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Chair Breen.
Aye.
Representatives Edwards.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Hope.
Yes.
Arbit.
Yes.
Devendorf.
Yes.
Hoskins.
Yes.
Cerniglu.
Yes.
Fink.
Pass.
Wenzel.
Yes.
Wozniak.
Yes.
Outman.
Pass.
Johnson.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays, 4 pass. House Bill 4738 is reported with recommendation.
Thank you. I will now take a motion from Representative Arbit to report House Bill 4739 with recommendation. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Chair Breen.
Aye.
Representatives Edwards.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Hope.
Yes.
Arbit.
Yes.
Devendorf.
Yes.
Hoskins.
Yes.
Cerniglu.
Yes.
Fink.
Pass.
Wenzel.
Yes.
Wozniak.
Yes.
Outman.
Pass.
Johnson.
Yes.
Madam Chair, you have 9 yeas, 0 nays, 4 pass. House Bill 4739 is reported with recommendation.
Thank you. We are now going to turn to House Bill 4690 from Representative Kofia. Please come and tell us about your bill. If you have anybody that wishes to testify with you, invite them to the table.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Vice Chairs and Honorable Committee. So we are taking up today my bill, House Bill 4690. I do have some folks here to speak in support of the bill, and I will introduce them in a moment. I appreciate you all taking the time to hear testimony on this matter. I also apologize for my tardiness. I was in another committee that was waiting on a vote, and almost everybody was in another committee, some of the folks I'm seeing here. So we've had quite a lineup today, but thank you for your patience. The issue that my bill addresses was brought to my attention by some of my constituents up in the 103rd District, which is in northern Michigan, some of whom, again, are here to speak today. The first being Mr. Eric Carlson, who is a longtime news reporter who recently retired from his journalism career in Leelanau County in my district. A local therapist, Ms. Karen McCarthy of Traverse City, who will, I believe, be joining us by Zoom. And Ms. Paula Lipinski, who is the CEO of Addiction Treatment Services in Grand Traverse County in my district. I'm grateful to each of them for making time during their work week to join us, and in Eric's case, making the 3-hour one-way drive down to Lansing to speak on this bill. They are not here as lobbyists or Association Gov Affairs staff, but regular Michiganders who feel strongly that this bill can support people in their path to recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. While my bill was inspired by the residents of the 103rd, it's clear, I want to make clear, it is an issue that impacts constituents across Michigan. The bill simply would require that those sentenced to court-ordered drug and alcohol addiction recovery peer support programs, usually 12-step programs, be verbally notified by the sentencing judge of their right to attend non-religious recovery program options, along with the opportunity to go to a traditional 12-step recovery program. Currently in Michigan, many individuals are court-ordered to attend traditional 12-step programs such as Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, which most of us are quite familiar with those programs. The common program referral to AA, courts have affirmed that time and time again in past court cases that these are at least quasi-religious in nature. And so I want to be very clear, as a kid who grew up in religious faith. My dad's a Baptist preacher. I know that AA and other religious 12-step programs have undoubtedly assisted countless people in their critical path toward recovery from addiction. That benefit is not in question with my bill. I support and honor people finding their path to recovery. And this bill in no way impedes, I want to be clear, the option to go to AA. Rather, my bill simply makes it clear to defendants in that moment that they either have the option of AA or a non-religious alternative for peer support recovery programming in their court-ordered treatment. As you will hear from those in my district, Mr. Carlson here and Ms. McCarthy on Zoom, as well as Ms. Lipinski from Addiction Treatment Services, it is important that defendants be offered both the traditional AA programs, but also be verbally offered the option to attend a non-religious recovery program that may better meet their personal recovery needs and belief system. And I also want to be clear that constitutionally, individuals who are sentenced to alcohol or drug treatment programs already do have the right to request a secular option. However, they often do not know this. I will let them speak more for themselves, but often they don't know this. And think about, just put yourself for a moment in the shoes of a person who is standing before a presiding judge being sentenced for an offense that has to do with their alcohol or drug addiction. There's a phrase, there's nothing quite so much like God on earth as a judge on a bench. It's a very serious moment for them. And they may not know and they may not feel comfortable requesting and advocating for that option for themselves to the person who is sitting above them on the bench deciding their future in the judicial system, the criminal justice system. So as Mr. Carlson and Ms. McCarthy and countless others in recovery have helped me understand as their representative, because many individuals come into the court system not knowing they have the option, they end up being sentenced into programs that don't align with their personal recovery needs, which does in fact have the potential of hindering their recovery, which is the goal, to recover. This bill simply would ensure that they are given clear verbal choice during sentencing and assigned either then to the traditional 12-step, AA, NA, or a non-religious alternative that works best for them. And also, I do want to be clear about what this bill does not do. This bill does not impede judicial discretion. Rather, it simply ensures that a judge verbally informs the defendant of their constitutional right to either a traditional AA or a non-religious recovery option. This bill does not negate AA as a recovery option. On the contrary, it supports a multiple pathways approach to a person's recovery and uplifts their right to a program that best, again, fits their needs, values, and traditions. The bill also does not create additional costs, which was important to me, doesn't create additional costs for the state, as it only requires a question to be verbally posed to the defendant in court. If adopted, it even has the potential to reduce costs to the state by potentially reducing recidivism through successful recovery option. The bill would also provide that if an in-person Non-religious recovery program is not available nearby, which I'm from rural northern Michigan. Things can be spread out and not as available. It would ensure that the individual could participate in a qualified online program. And since the beginning of the pandemic, online programs have really come a long way, as I think Ms. Lipinski may speak to, and have a proven track record of ensuring quality participation, especially again in rural regions like mine with limited options. Finally, my office has been and continues to be in ongoing conversations with various stakeholders and stands ready to incorporate valuable feedback into any final version of this bill. So thank you again to the members of the committee for taking up my bill. I'm happy to try to answer any questions you have, although I would actually love to just hand the mic over to Mr. Carlson to give him an opportunity to speak directly to why he asked me to tackle this.
Thank you. Before you speak, Mr. Carlson, thank you for joining us today. I'd like to ask the committee to hold their questions until the end, and if you two could remain there while we take the Zoom testimony, and then we'll be able to tackle any questions. Thank you. Mr. Carlson?
Thank you for the opportunity to testify, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Eric Carlson. I reside in Suttons Bay in the 103rd District, and I encouraged my state representative here to introduce House Bill 4690. The impetus for this effort came from my current and ongoing experience as a volunteer sponsor for defendants in our local sobriety court program and other people with substance use disorders who are court-ordered to attend 12-step meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous. I myself am an alcoholic. In January of this year, I marked 40 years of continuous sobriety. I'm acutely aware of how effective 12-step programs are for many people, but I'm also aware of how religious 12-step programs are. Based on a mountain of case law, the fact that 12-step programs are religious is beyond debate. Nonetheless, judges throughout Michigan routinely order defendants to attend 12-step meetings regardless of the defendant's religious beliefs or lack of religious beliefs. It's a matter of well-settled law that if a defendant expresses an objection to attending 12-step meetings on religious grounds, the court is obligated to offer that defendant a secular program or other equivalent program of recovery from substance use disorders. The problem is that most defendants don't know they have this right. All House Bill 4690 seeks to do is to ensure that courts inform defendants of this right before ordering defendants to participate in a substance use disorder recovery program. If defendants object to attending religious 12-step meetings, there are multiple pathways to recovery available. If 12-step meetings are the only meetings available in the defendant's neighborhood, then there are many other substance use disorder recovery programs that meet online. In fact, since the COVID-19 pandemic, many courts have routinely allowed defendants to attend 12-step meetings on Zoom and other platforms. House Bill 4690 is not about inhibiting or disrespecting religion or 12-step programs. I got sober 40 years ago when I was halfway through my 25-year career in the United States Marine Corps. A veteran of multiple combat deployments, I've literally had AA meetings shot out from under me in war zones, specifically a couple of AA meetings in Somalia that were broken up by sniper fire in '92 and '93. Today, I remain just as committed to helping my fellow addicts and alcoholics get clean and sober and stay that way. Again, this legislative effort has nothing to do with promoting atheism or attacking religion. Rather, it's focused on ensuring that Michiganders involved in the court system are provided fair access to all the life-saving tools available to help them to recover from substance use disorders and not violating their core religious freedom rights. For me, this effort has everything to do with the oath that I took as a U.S. Marine and that each of you took as legislators to uphold and defend our Constitution. Thank you for your service, and I will be available to answer questions later.
Thank you very much. Just please remain at the table, and we're going to head to Paula Lipinski on Zoom. Hi, Paula. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Can you hear me now?
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Paula Lipinski, I'm Chief Executive Officer for Addiction Treatment Services. We are a substance use disorder provider in Northern Michigan, located in Traverse City. I'm also a person in recovery from alcohol use disorder. I strongly believe, as a master's level clinician, as well as a representative of a provider of treatment, that the multiple pathways to recovery is the most effective for those of us looking for, success in recovery. The agency supports the use of what we call multiple pathways to recovery for for many years. 12-step recovery meetings were the only offering to those of us trying to get into recovery. Today, even in Northern Michigan, there are a number of recovery meetings that offer an alternative to 12 steps. Many service providers, such as ATS, have recognized the ethical obligation to meet a person where they are at. If someone wishes to use a secular option as a way to recover, we offer those options. Sometimes people utilize many different options. The bottom line is respecting people's beliefs and meeting them where they are is far more effective at engaging them in their own journey than being forced. Speaking from a perspective of a person in recovery, admitting I had alcohol use disorder was the hardest thing I've ever done. I came into recovery without the push of the court system. This allowed me as a person to make a decision that was right for me at that time. Today, I do follow a 12-step recovery program only because I came to realize it was right for me in my recovery, but that's my story. Everyone is different and should be allowed the luxury to adhere to their own beliefs. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Ms. Lipinski?
Questions for everybody or just?
Just for Ms. Lipinski. You do? Yeah. Representative Johnson.
Thank you, Chair Breen. Thank you for being here. Do you have a success rate for your program, Addiction Treatment Services, as compared to AA or anything else?
It's extremely difficult to define what success means in recovery, and I think a lot that also aligns with some of the understanding of the 12 steps. 12 steps, it definitely defines success as long-term recovery, meaning sobriety, so abstinence. But when you're looking at it from a therapeutic level, therapeutically, success can mean a lot of different things. So I don't necessarily have numbers to support a percentage of people that have remained abstinent. What I can say is that recovery means a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, committee, I should have clarified. We're going to, for the people on Zoom, just logistically it makes sense to ask them questions while they are on the Zoom. Thank you, Ms. Lipinski, for your testimony. We're going to move on now to Ms. Karen McCarthy. Hi, Karen. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Karen McCarthy, and I reside in Traverse City. I'm providing this testimony in the hope that you will support House Bill 4690. My experience as a woman in recovery speaks directly to many of the problems that this bill seeks to correct. Nearly 15 years ago, I realized my drinking was becoming a problem. A therapist referred me to Alcoholics Anonymous. I attended AA meetings 3 times a week for 6 months and was told at each meeting that probably no human power could relieve my alcoholism, but that God could and would if he were sought. Each of the AA meetings began and ended with group prayers, including the Our Father from the Christian Bible. I was told directly at an AA meeting that if I didn't believe in God, I would never get sober. As a non-theist, I then thought, well, there goes all hope. And I started drinking again. It is sheer luck that I didn't injure or kill anyone, including myself, during my relapse. After getting a second drunk driving charge, I entered the sobriety court program and was ordered to go to 90 AA meetings in 90 days. Had the judge asked me whether I had any objection to the religious elements of AA's program of recovery, I absolutely would have said yes. Had a secular program of recovery been offered to me by the court, I definitely would have accepted it. At the time, I had no idea that I had the right to object to being ordered to attend AA meetings because of their religiosity and be offered a secular alternative. My understanding of House Bill 4690 is that it will simply require courts to let defendants know about this option. People with a substance use disorder need to be aware that there are multiple pathways to recovery and not automatically be ordered by the state to participate in religious programs. It would have been better for me and my family if I had been able to participate in a secular program of recovery from the beginning. Fortunately, I successfully made it through sobriety court. On my own, I found other people in recovery who were supportive of my alternative approach to spirituality. This included some members in an AA group in Traverse City that deliberately strives to be secular. I know secular groups are now proliferating around Michigan, including AA and other similar groups, especially online, and they will continue to expand if they receive more referrals from courts. Earlier this month, I marked 12 years of continuous sobriety. During this period, I earned a master's degree and am now a professional counselor specializing in treating children who have survived trauma. I also helped to start Dan's House, a nonprofit that provides harm reduction-based supportive housing to people with severe alcohol use disorder who've experienced chronic homelessness. Most important to me, I mended relationships with my adult daughters. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about my experience in recovery.
Thank you, Ms. McCarthy, and I applaud you as well as Mr. Carlson and Ms. Lipinski on this incredible journey that you've been able to make. Do we have any questions for Ms. McCarthy? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. We are now going to move on to Ms. Christy Alicia.
Good morning. My name is Christy Alicia, and I'm the Assistant Executive Director at Smart Recovery USA. For almost 30 years, our organization has been providing free support groups to individuals who wish to gain independence from any type of addictive behavior or substance. I'm here to express my strong support for House Bill 690. SMART stands for Self-Management and Recovery Training. This is more than an acronym. It's a transformative method of moving from addictive substances and negative behaviors to a life of positive self-regard and learning skills to make healthy decisions. Our volunteer facilitators are currently providing 60 meetings in 26 counties in Michigan. But we know we are just scratching the surface, and there are so many more people in the state who would benefit from our support. While faith-based programs work for a lot of people, they don't work for everyone. And I'll share some of my personal experiences with this in a moment. To address the addiction crisis in Michigan, we need to ensure there are multiple pathways to recovery, including self-empowering models like SMART that are expressly supportive of medication-assisted treatment, or MAT. MAT is the use of physician-prescribed, FDA-approved medication to normalize bodily functions and to alleviate withdrawal symptoms in people recovering from substance use disorders. Used appropriately, medications such as buprenorphine, methadone, and naltrexone save lives. Self-empowering, evidence-based recovery programs like Smart Recovery recognize the life-saving potential of MAT and fully support its use. Unfortunately, some faith-based programs do not support MAT and even stigmatize or discourage its use. I have personally answered the phone on multiple occasions where people who had been to faith-based recovery programs were told they had to cease taking their behavioral health medications and MAT. These situations resulted in either hospitalizations due to mental health crises or, in at least one occasion, a suicide attempt. Others have shared that they've gone to rehab or have been forced to attend 12-step meetings multiple times and described in desperation how they continued to do something over and over again that just wasn't working for them. They deserve options in their recovery because there isn't just one pathway to recovery. Many people share a strong faith, but don't practice that in front of others. Some are not believers in a higher power. Either way, they all deserve a place where they can work on their recovery in a setting where they are comfortable and without religion being forced on them. This bill will ensure that individuals mandated by the state to attend recovery meetings and treatment programs are offered multiple pathways to recovery, empowering them to choose what will work best for them. I urge you to pass this bill. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about this critical issue today.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Ms. Alicia? Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Kofia and Mr. Carlson, for being here. I appreciate your statement earlier that you're willing to engage with stakeholders. As you know, and I will be reading their card, and the Michigan Association of Treatment Court Professionals is objecting to your bill. And so I guess I'm wondering, logistically, what exactly are you looking for, and how would this look? Because it's to my understanding that when you're ordered to participate in one of these programs, that there's automatically a right to object to a religious-based one. So could just tell me what exactly it is that you're looking for?
Sure. Thank you, Chair. And we are in ongoing conversations with the treatment court and hoping to continue to work with them to get them to yes. Really, the goal here, people do have the constitutional right to choose a non-religious option. However, what we're advocating for is that be proactively offered by the judge during sentencing versus the defendant being put in a position to hopefully know that they have that constitutional right in the first place if it's not shared with them in court, which is currently not required. And B, find the courage when they're facing the person who is about to sentence them to advocate for themselves for a secular option. I can appreciate, though I've never been in that position, I've heard from members in the recovery community that is a very difficult moment for them to try to then perhaps risk the ire of a judge by pushing back on something. So the idea here simply with the bill is to make this a standard practice, that a statement would be made by the judge during sentencing to say, addiction treatment options being a traditional 12-step program or a non-religious option, and essentially which do you choose?
Okay. I appreciate your willingness to work with some of the other stakeholders. Are there any additional questions? Representative Fink.
If I may, Madam Chair, I actually do have to head to another meeting as well, so I will be coming back. So if you've got a lot of questions, I'd love to take one right now, and then we can do more later.
Yeah, out of respect for the chair, I only intended to do one and then see if she was going to come back to me.
That, or if Mr. Carlson is able to field questions as well.
Sure. I want to pick up on something I think I just heard you say, Rep. Kofia. Kofia? I actually
Kofia.
Kofia, right.
Sounds Italian. It's not, but that's a way to remember it.
That's okay. So you mentioned something about a constitutional right to have an alternative to a 12-step or to I guess all 12 steps have some, if it's classically what we call 12-step, some reference to higher power, right?
God and higher power in several of the steps in traditional 12-step.
So can you just tell me a little more about this constitutional right, where it comes from? Is there a case you're talking about? Where are we getting that?
We could give you the list.
First of all, because it's a secular court and we all have constitutional rights that are covered, courts cannot mandate us to take religious courses. We do have the constitutional right. We do have it right here. So it's been determined to be a constitutional right in so many cases that I'm happy to submit these to the committee.
Do you have one that's from the United States Supreme Court?
Rulings from various courts across the country. I'm happy to give you the entire list, but this has been actually challenged in court multiple times, and I believe each time the defendant actually won the case that they had a constitutional right to a secular option.
It's gone up to the Federal Appeals Court in California.
Okay, so I guess my question would be, is there either a Michigan Supreme Court or United States Supreme? No. What about a Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals? Okay. That's my first question, Madam Chair. I yield my time.
And again, I'm happy to provide the entire list of all of the court cases where people in recovery have successfully advocated that the courts do, in fact, that they do have that right.
And most of them were the results of lawsuits against the state. One of the advantages of passing this law is that you'll be less likely to be sued. and lose.
Thank you. I would appreciate this.
Rep. Kofia, if you need to go and you want to leave us with Mr. Carlson, that is fine.
Happy to do that. I can take one more question, but I will just simply say one of the things that I hope that this committee hears loud and clear from me, and I think from the folks advocating, is our goal is to enable recovery in the path that is most impactful for the individual. I'm a former county commissioner, 2 terms in Grand Traverse County in northern Michigan. 40% of the people incarcerated in our jails at any given time were dealing with alcohol or drug addiction. This is a huge and growing crisis in Michigan. And again, I am deeply, deeply supportive of as a Baptist preacher's child of people seeking a religious option if that is what will get them on the recovery path. I am also deeply supportive of giving people the option of something that will work better for their actual recovery and outcome. So I appreciate the powerful testimony, and I appreciate Eric driving all the way down here. And thank you for your grace and patience with my crazy schedule this morning, Madam Chair and committee.
Thank you for being here. Representative Arbit.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Kofia, for bringing this legislation forward and for coming today. I think this is the simplest thing in the world. We're talking a lot about constitutional rights, and I think it's right there enumerated in the First Amendment. Congress shall pass no act as to the establishment of any religion in this country. And as a Jew, I would feel very uncomfortable if I were mandated in court to go to a program that was contrary to my religious beliefs, mandated by a court of law, by an arm of our government. So this, to me, strikes me as something that is very much trying to implement, what we all should demand in our First Amendment rights. I'm just very grateful for you for bringing this forward. And I don't really have a question. I don't really see why there would be any opposition to this bill. I think everyone has the right to, practice their faith or choose not to practice the faith. And frankly, I was very disturbed to hear the testimony from Ms. McCarthy about the fact that the ideological or theological sort of tone and tenor of the treatment actually pushed her to relapse. I think that is incredibly disturbing, incredibly harmful, and proof positive that this needs to be an affirmative right. We read people their Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right not to engage in a course of treatment that is colored by theological elements. And so I'm really grateful for this. I think this is very simple, and let's get it done. Thank you, Representative Kofia.
Thank you. And again, thank you for your indulgence of my schedule today, committee. Thank you for taking this up. And I welcome further discussion. I will get you the First Amendment, and I will also get you all the court cases.
No need on that. I have some pocket constitutions in my office.
Thank you, Rep. Kofia. Do we have any additional questions? Sure. Rep. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for being here. I think it's important to note that when it comes to treatment of any kind, I was in the mental health field for about 15 years, and counseling, treatment, path of healing, it's really tough, and I would embrace multiple options at every court, like a list of at least 3, and let the person choose. I don't know if that's possible in every court in every area of the state, but to give more than one option, period. Religious, secular, whatever. My personal experience with AA is many of them are not religious. They say higher power, and they even keep people from using the word God or any name of God, and they restrict people to saying higher power. So they're not even all religious. It's amazing, but that's just what has transpired over the years. So some of them don't even say God. I would feel better about this. I'm all for choice, so I love that. But I would feel better about this bill if it said that at least 2 or 3 were offered by the court, presented as options, so that we don't slide into an anti-religious sentiment either. And I'm all for someone doing a secular route if they want that. If that's better for them, good for them. But I think we need to put some guidance here to make sure that everybody's still taken care of going forward. How do you feel about that?
I think that's precisely what the bill.
Hit your button, sir.
I think that's precisely what the bill seeks to do, is to take care of everybody. I should point out that at practically every AA meeting in Michigan, they begin with a prayer, the Serenity Prayer, that's written by a Protestant minister. Then they read from Chapter 5 of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, how it works. And everybody, including court-ordered people who are sometimes asked to read this aloud at meetings, somebody reads it aloud. There is one, with a capital O, who has all power, a monotheistic God who's omnipotent. May you find him now, exclamation point. Half measures availed us nothing. That is, those words are uttered aloud at practically every AA meeting in the state. Yes, you can find some meetings where people are more secular than others. In fact, there are some secular AA meetings that make a habit of reformatting the meeting, but there are 12 of them in Michigan. And most of them are offered online on Zoom, and we get people from all over the state going to those, precisely because they don't want to be in a meeting where they're being asked to recite prayers and religious doctrine.
So to be clear, AA and something else will be offered by the courts if this bill goes through? Is that,
Oh, that's the whole idea,
but still two of them?
at least.
Okay, thanks.
There's Smart Recovery, there's Secular AA, there's Life Ring, there's all kinds of secular programs available.
Representative Fink, do you have any additional questions?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Appreciate it. So I guess I kind of have a related question, but maybe from a little bit of a different angle. So courts, by their nature, have limited resources, and the draft that we have here, or not draft, introduced bill takes account of the fact that not every area, for instance, will have, a physical meeting of a particular, treatment program locally. And so there's this online concept. But I guess my question would be, what if there are other features? I mean, we heard a little bit about, whether to use, there's difference of opinion in the recovery community about whether to use drug assist, what was the term she used?
Medical
Medication
assisted treatment,
yeah,
MAT.
or not, right?
Or not.
Or presumably any number of other differences that work for some people in recovery and don't work for other people in recovery. So my question is, how specific to the individual defendant / addict does the court need to be in order to satisfy the intention of this legislation?
All the court needs to do is ask one question. Do you have a religious objection to attending 12-step meetings? If the answer is yes, the response is, well, we've got 6 other programs available for you.
So I should have been a little more clear. I understand that's what the text of this bill would do, but I guess my question is, there could be some other point. Say it is say what you have is a religious and a secular AA program, and those are the 2 options in the area. And the court says, well, then you can go and do that one. Neither of them is medically assisted, medication assisted.
Correct.
Okay. So what if that becomes the next issue in this sort of movement to be more adaptive to an individual addict? Does that question make sense? Are we then going to have a bill saying you've got to offer a medication assisted program and a non-med, and why not?
Representative Fink, I would argue that's a slippery slope. And it's about this bill, not what the next bill is. If there is a next bill, we don't know that.
No, we don't. But when we establish legislation moving in a particular direction, it's always logical to ask the question, well, if we move in this direction, what would be the reason not to take up a bill that says you must offer both a medication assisted and, in other words, the pressure we're putting on the court here is to go outside of the practice that they're in right now. Obviously, if we didn't have courts that aren't doing this, then you wouldn't be here today. But you understand my point. If we're going to direct the courts on which treatment programs they have to offer, then why wouldn't that be the next bill to come up?
Well, we're not directing the courts to offer anything other than information that there are multiple pathways available. I think that the issue of medically assisted treatment is not even envisioned by this, and I think that in some cases judges do order people to treatment, and they do receive medically assisted treatment to an inpatient treatment program. I think that happens routinely. As a matter of fact, what the issue you're bringing up speaks to some of the issues that the substance use providers, substance use treatment providers gave us that may result in a change to the language, and will focus specifically on peer support recovery groups. That's what we're trying to affect. We're not trying to put judges in the position of deciding whether someone ought to be dispensed medication. It really only has to do with making a defendant aware of a choice.
Thank you. That's helpful.
I'm sorry, Representative Fink, I believe Ms. Lipinski has something she wants to add on Zoom.
I do. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share. I do have some experience in regards to the treatment courts here locally. Treatment courts do have the freedom to already choose if they're going to allow medically assisted treatment for anyone who participates in their program. I think this is, although I can understand the correlation and that this could head down that road, there does seem to be a lot more freedom and understanding of there's numerous scientific studies in support of MAT, and you do see courts heading in that direction. I think that this specifically is something that this bill itself, in regards to secular versus non-secular, is something that is still a separate issue than medically assisted treatment, because people that aren't even in treatment court, people that are it could be their first offense for a drunk driving or for anything to do with drugs and alcohol, are being ordered to participate in AA or NA, and so it's ultimately it is a separate issue, and it's still quite different than looking at medically assisted treatment issues.
Thank you for that additional comment, Ms. Lipinski. And I appreciate the robust discussion we have had. Before I read the cards in, does anybody else have anything? Okay, I want to thank the bill sponsor, even though she's not here, for doing this, and Mr. Carlson for the drive down. I appreciate your testimony, and I'm looking forward to the continued work on this bill to see what we might be able to do to help people in their already difficult journey for recovery. And I applaud everybody who is making that choice to try to improve their lives, and it's difficult for them and their families and everybody involved. So thank you, Mr. Carlson. I have here a card from Sam Price from the 1014 Recovery Network, opposing the bill, but supports with intended changes, not wishing to speak. Gabriel Dresner from the ACLU, supporting the bill, not wishing to speak. And Catherine Hude from the Michigan Association of Treatment Court Professionals, opposing the bill, not wishing to speak. I do note her written testimony and appreciate their continued engagement on this. And if nobody else has anything to add, it is, according to my clock here, 11:29. This is our last committee hearing before the in-district work period. We've done a lot of great stuff so far this term. We have more to do. And seeing no further business before the committee, we stand adjourned.